How you doing?
Oh, I'm just pleased as punch. Everything's working out.
That's terrific news. And your name is?
Oh, it's Janko Stibbles.
Janko Stibbles, and I'm Quark, formerly known as Bingo.
Yeah.
Wonderful to get together today. I feel like you ever watch the news? And they got like a live correspondent and they'll ask a question and then you just watch him wait for like 10 seconds and then he responds and it's awkward. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And it's happening to you right now, which is why I'm
That's happening here. And I'm cutting you off. And here's the thing. I'm going to edit all of it out. So it's going to play back seamlessly. But I just need to acknowledge it is interfering with our communication. And this podcast is the flow is going to be a little weird. I'm on hotel Wi-Fi. The delay between me and Jesse is insane. But through the magic of post-production, I'm going to eliminate as much of it as possible. So please clap.
Yeah, and we're savvy with this kind of thing. So we kind of know how to let the time take what it needs to not cut the other person off. And I'm kind of using this sentence as a little test game for that.
Well said, Jesse. I mean, Django, and couldn't have said it better. It's a delightful slime zone evening. I'm by a pool. I'm in Redding, California. It's a shithole. Barely had time to squeeze out this episode. But we got to keep this gravy train rolling. You know, people demand more slime. They're clamoring for it out there. There are crowds of ravenous slime eaters at my door.
Yeah, it's a delicacy, and we're providing slop for the masses. If the slop was not previously available, and we're the suppliers of it.
Rich, viscous, green-tinted sustenance for the podcast fans out there. I noticed there was a market gap, and we're here to fill it. So thanks for listening, and I hope this is a pleasurable filling for you. Mm-hmm. Today on the Slime Zone, I thought it would be fun if we did a little another little tier list. You're a Slime Zone listener. You may or may not be familiar with our hilariously titled tier list segment, Tiers of the
Slime Zone.
We just played the interstitial. It just concluded.
Cool. I can't wait to do this one with you, my co-pilot.
Yeah, we got a couple potential tier lists on the agenda because we just love tier lists so much. I don't know how much time this is going to take, but I allotted the whole episode for it. First up, if you look at the screen, you'll see what we have here is a house rooms tier list maker. We're going to make a tier list of all the rooms that come in your typical, I don't know, this is probably a $500,000 house. You know, you got all the trimmings.
Yeah.
As we can see here, you got your front and backyard, bedrooms, balcony, etc. And I know you and I definitely have opinions on this as homeowners. This is our bread and butter. Yeah, not all rooms are made alike. I'm itching to get into this one. I'm sweating. I'm ready to fucking go.
Yeah, I can't wait. I have our houses, while we are professionals, our houses lack many rooms. So I'm pumped to also live vicariously through this list.
I dream of moving into a new house or like discovering new rooms in my house almost every night.
Wow.
It's such a fantasy. Can you fucking imagine if you found out that you had like, oh my God, you just discover a basement in your house that you didn't know you had, and it's not spooky? Well, even if it is spooky, even if it's spooky, it's like your first thought is, holy shit, I have a basement.
Yeah, it's a pretty sick thought, and you're making me realize I think that's a bit of a common fantasy, perhaps. Like, as a kid, me and my sisters would fantasize about how, like, what if there was a trap door in our parents' cedar closet that like led to a slide that spilled out into some dungeon. Like, we would talk about that voraciously. We couldn't get enough of the idea.
It's just so tantalizing. It's like,
it's cool.
I think we're all gluttons. We're all gluttons for real estate. So let's get into it, partner.
I'm excited.
For those who are unfamiliar with tier lists, it's really quite simple. We're going to take all the rooms of a house and rank them from best to worst Japanese style, meaning S tier is the best. Don't know why. And then you got A, B, C, D, F, and then don't know or don't have one. I feel like we can ignore the don't have one because this is a fantasy for us, right?
Yeah, we will. We can handle.
Yeah, we're probably gonna ignore these bottom two rows, don't know and don't have one, because we do know. And we do have one in our hearts.
Sick.
First up, we've got backyard. To me, honestly, backyard's a very mid for me. I don't care much for a backyard.
I was gonna say the exact same thing.
We got collectively acres of backyard. We don't do shit with it.
Right.
I think D. Honestly, we might move it later. Do you agree?
You know, I would like C, because the thing about a yard is that whether you like it or not, it's a flex that you basically own relatively more of the Earth's surface area than other people.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair enough. It is, a huge contributing factor to the inherent wealth of owning a house. Just owning dirt that other people can't use. That's the privilege of being a homeowner.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. I think C tier is pretty fair. All right, next up we got balcony. I fucking cream for a balcony, and I don't have one, but I would cream for a balcony. I'd put balcony as B, maybe A. Not all balconies are made alike. Like, this is a picture of a pretty shitty balcony. It's not too like this kind of balcony. I don't know. I'd still prefer this over having a yard that I have to take care of. So I don't know. I think B maybe. What do you think?
I agree squarely with B. I think it's similar to a yard in the way that it's inherently a flex, regardless of how you feel about it. I guess not always. But if you're in an apartment and a balcony, it comes time it doesn't. But I think if you have some kind of second floor door that you can walk out of, I think that's inherently like high tech for a house. And
that's
I think
high house tech. Yeah. Okay. Well, next up. Basement. A basement is a big fucking deal. A basement is a privilege that neither of us have. This is a walkout basement too, which is that's fucked up. It doesn't even look like a basement. It looks more like an attic. But in my opinion, a walkout basement, walk-out basement is that's at least A tier, maybe S tier, because the basements are just, that's the fun zone. I mean, if it's a finished basement, that's where you put the pool table, baby. That's where you put your slip and slide. It's a hot zone. What are your thoughts? Did you ever have a basement growing up?
Oh my God. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you're saying. A basement is, it's pure. It's like an unadulterated, fun zone with no obligations. It's not trying to be anything. You could walk into a basement and it could be dirty with like, it could be dirty with a piano in it and like a kiddie pool, and you wouldn't question it. Like, it's a vessel for anything. And as a kid, our basement was deluxe. Pool table, bar, huge TVs and surround sound system, record player, stereo, weapons case. It was the place to be.
Jesus. It was the armory. It was the game room. It was the gym. It's the garage. It's a big deal. Yeah. Basements that's where the milk is made, honey. All right, I'm putting the basement in. I
have to agree.
God, I'm gonna put it in an S tier. Honestly, it's just so exciting.
Sure,
a basement is a huge deal.
Makes sense.
It's always an amazing bonus. You don't expect it, but you never don't want a basement.
I hear it. I agree.
Bathroom S tier. I don't know how a bathroom's got to be S tier, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you got to shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just so necessary that it comes with the territory. Like, if you won't enjoy any house if there's not a bathroom, so it's immensely important. And I feel like it's earned an S for that reason.
All right, yeah. It's such a classic. It's a staple. We love bathrooms. You ain't buying a house without a bathroom.
We love bathrooms.
Bedroom, I don't give a shit about the bedroom. Is that a hot take? To me, a bedroom is just a room for a rectangle.
Yeah, it's like the bathroom is so quintessential that it's like, it deserves some reverence. The bedroom, you can arguably sleep on a couch and forgo a bedroom entirely, and it's like, okay, whatever, who cares?
Bedroom is a utility room.
I'm getting inspired.
You're getting inspired to get rid of your bed. I totally
use that for something else.
I approve. I find the bedroom drab. It's a room just for like one or two people, and what you lie down on a fucking squishy rectangle and sleep, and then maybe fuck. Get over yourself. Fuck in the bathroom like a grown up.
Right.
It's boring. I'm putting it in D tier. I don't give a fuck about the bedroom.
All right, cool.
Dining room, for me personally, a dining room is D tier or F tier. But that's because I've never had a dining room or wanted one as an adult. I'm not much of a cook. My gathering space is the living room. To me, it's like the dining room. There's no TV in the dining room, bro. It's boring.
I think a dining room's F tier for those reasons. Like, first of all, our dining rooms, technically we both have something of a dining room, but just goes to show you how we feel about it. Like, we just tuck it away in the last possible corner, and it's like, okay, 4 chairs are here, and you eat here sometimes. But it's very extraneous. And I don't want to use my space like that. Dining
rooms are being phased out. I mean, if you're buying a house that has a dining room, they're selling it and marketing it as an office.
Right.
Most houses that are being remodeled, they're blowing down that wall between the dining room and the kitchen because we like to connect shit. Once you take that wall down, it's no longer the dining room. It is there's another word for it. It's like the hearth or something. They have a different word. Hearth room, I think is the word. Dining rooms are fucking antiquated. I'm fuck dining rooms. You know what? Now I'm feeling political about it. Right. Challenge us in the comments. Republicans love dining rooms.
You know what? That's so true though. I almost said this before you started talking about this. I was like a dining room has like plantation house energy.
It's a very traditional room. It's a room for tradition. And I spit in the face of tradition.
Disgusting.
All right. Moving on. Front yard / lawn. Definitely F tier.
Wow.
And I'm sure you agree, right? Or maybe you don't.
Well, I don't know if I'd go F. I would go C. So maybe we should go D to meet in the middle. But I kind of feel I've come to enjoy my front yard. I kind of like, for example, when I open my front door, I kind of feel like I'm starting a new game to Breath of the Wild or something.
Is it? And that's you attribute that to having a front yard?
Yeah, like my front yard. I've come to appreciate it, and I like my plants in my front yard. I like the size of it. I kind of get to both looking out the back and the front of my house. I kind of have like land to look over, and I've come to enjoy it.
Okay, well, see you. As you stated earlier, you can appreciate and enjoy just owning a square of land, a mound of dirt.
Yeah, that's
to me. To me, the front yard is as much of a hassle as the backyard, if not more, because that's the part that people gotta see. Right. So you gotta take care of it even more. And it's not private. Like you don't fuck around in the front yard. You fuck around in the backyard. So the front yard is just for looking at.
Exactly.
So that's why I would put it in F tier. But I think meeting in the middle, we'll plop it in D. I'm going to plop it in D because I really do feel strongly about it. But I get what you're saying. Okay, moving on. This is pretty new age. Game room. Neither of us have ever had a game room. We're not hardcore enough. We're not streamers. We have offices, studios, work workspaces, hybrid areas, but not rooms just for games. But if I could have a game room, would I? I don't know. See, I like to play games communally, and that's why my game room is like, it would be like the living room or a living room type space. But this image is looks like a typical streamer setup, which I've always found very gauche, a little claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Even.
Man, like a game room in my book has to be like what my friend Mike has. He's got like a full Dance Dance Revolution cabinet and a full Korean Pump It Up dance cabinet in his game room. And it's like, okay, let's really do something proprietary here. You can put an Xbox anywhere.
Okay, well, that does put things into perspective. If I could have a game room, that would be like one of the highlights of my house. If I had like a full ass arcade in my own home with an actual DDR machine, I could just, and maybe a room just for VR. That would kind of bust my balls. I would rather have a game room than a yard, for sure. That's me.
Make it
That's
a B.
me. I would put it in B. Yeah. All right. Now we have a different type of game room. This is an analog game room.
No
with
space.
like a foosball table, pool table, that kind of shit. Good place. Now this to me looks like a basement though. Like I feel like the basement can and should be the game room. So honestly, I feel like this is kind of extraneous. I would put this in don't have one, because for me this is just like what you do at the basement.
Well, you're making me realize that I think a basement is an S tier because it can succeed automatically in being any room. No one questions it. So you can make it the best room.
Right.
And everyone's like, sure, there's a couch, whatever you need. And so I wonder if it's like, well, the game room, if I should take it at face value. For me, it's that little icon of a game room with no space is something I see in like a deluxe Airbnb when me and 20 of my friends go on vacation.
Right. And that's when you're using a game room like this. It's when you got a lot of company.
True. You know what? I don't like it. I don't want it as a dedicated room unless it's a basement, which is why it's an S, because I don't want to fucking deal with it.
Right. Yeah. Fuck. You got to dust it all the time. Jesus. Breaking your back, keeping this shit in order. I think D tier. I don't want to say F because, I think it's worth more than a dining room. Dining rooms are the worst.
Yeah, agree.
I'm going to put D. I'm going to put D unless you object.
No, it's beautiful.
Next up is garage. I would cream for a garage. I wouldn't put it in an S tier because I can obviously live without it. But a garage for me is probably probably A tier, because you can use a garage for so many things too, like a basement, similar to a basement.
Yeah, it has basement energy. Yeah.
Keep your car in there, and I like my car.
It really is like a basement, but more utility focused. Like you don't finish a garage, but you do. Everyone embraces it as like literally throw any fucking thing in there, and I won't judge you. It's like what it exists for, and that's pretty fucking legit. I would probably give it an A.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, you could make a garage an office, or you could make it purely storage, or it could be purely like a garage / workshop, or you could do fucking could fill it with gummy bears and cum flakes. Look, the point is nobody's gonna bat an eye because it's a garage. It's a multi-purpose physical realm. A tier it is. Next up,
cool.
We have the guest room. A guest room is a luxury. Neither of us have guest rooms. We have couches.
No.
But a guest room would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever have a guest room in my life unless I'm exorbitantly wealthy. And I'm using that term. To me, having a guest room means you are exorbitantly wealthy, because I have 3 rooms in my house. And I don't use 3 bedrooms. I don't use any of them as guest rooms because each one serves its own purpose. I have so much shit I would rather use that space for before making it a guest room to be used like once or twice a year. I think guest rooms are, again, it's on the traditional side of things. It's traditional to have a guest room, so when your fucking Mima comes to town, she doesn't have to get a hotel. She can stay in your fucking guest room
Right.
and mooch off of you, sneak into your room in the middle of the night, give you a blowy, and you'll pretend nothing happened. It was just a wet dream.
Oh.
That's why we have guest rooms. But I don't really.
That's why we.
I don't subscribe to that. So to me, a guest room is probably, again, more valuable than a dining room. Fuck a dining room. D tier at best, maybe F tier. What do you think? Buster?
I agree.
All right, D tier.
I think a guest room when you want it is really appreciated, and you're like, or you miss it. Like when my family's over here, I'm like, fuck, it's like such a hassle to just comfortably host my parents. But more times than not, I'm happy that I'm forced to say, well, I don't have a lot of rooms, so that like people can't feel like they can just stay with me.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I like not being able to host, to a great capacity. It does take off some pressure.
It's inherently a boundary you're drawing.
Yeah, that is a valuable thing. Next up, we got the kitchen. Kitchen is S tier, right? I think do I mean that? Do I really mean that? A tier, at least, maybe S tier. I mean, a kitchen is such a gathering spot. It's so essential. Kitchen, you would interact with the kitchen multiple times a day. It's a big deal.
I agree that it's got to be at least A.
I only hesitate because to me, the living room is 100% S tier.
Sure.
But to me, the living room and the kitchen are like a unit. I think kitchen, S tier, living room, also S tier. These are my feelings. And feel free to challenge me.
Well, just to sort of build my own opinions on it here, I do think the kitchen and the living room are basically two sides of the same coin. One is just a wet version of it. One is a dry version of it.
Right.
And I think that they are so essential is because they are transitory. They're like transitional spaces. Like you'll spend a lot of time in them, but you won't necessarily ever plop down and set up shop in the kitchen other than cooking, obviously. But you're not typically like, I'm going to do this project in the kitchen.
Well, it's not entirely true. Maybe I've just seen higher falutin kitchens than you that have like a kitchen with bar seat, like a countertop with. Yeah. I fucking love an island. I love an island. And to me, in my experience, like the kitchen is as much of a productive spot, a hangout spot, a chill spot as the living room. If you got the good kind of kitchen with seating in it. Center Island is it's ideal. You're in the hot zone. It's the hub of the house, and you have easy access to delicious treats.
I guess I'm saying like there's a certain genre of activity that can happen in each of these that is like they're getting pulled in a specific direction that your average room is not. It's like they have some particular qualities, and I guess that's what I'm speaking to. It's like, you're not sleeping in the kitchen.
I'm going to put the kitchen in A tier. I'm going to move it down. Right. You've really convinced me because I can handle a lackluster kitchen. I feel like a kitchen is such a functional thing. And to me, I definitely put more stock into a living room. Most places where I've lived, the kitchens have been ass, but I've been willing to make that compromise.
Right, you clearly prioritize living room, I guess.
Yeah, as long as it's got a kitchen, because you can't not have a kitchen is the thing, which is part of why it ranks so high. Yeah, and I love a nice kitchen.
I am not under appreciating the kitchen. It might be the flagship room of the house, so you could easily make that argument, and I would follow you there.
I could, and I won't, because I like it in A. Kitchen and garage. Kitchen
that's good.
And the garage are usually connected.
Dig that.
All right. Well, next up we got pantry, which is a sub room of the kitchen. Pantry is an amazing thing to have. I don't have a pantry. You kind of have a pantry, but it's not a walk-in pantry, which is what this picture is. It looks like a walk-in, and a walk-in pantry is a huge flex, in my opinion.
It's a huge flex. It's warm fuzzies every time. If you go into a walk-in pantry at anybody's house, you're just like, damn, I'm surrounded by Fig Newtons and popcorn, graham crackers, and things I like, and I get that experience looking at a fucking cabinet.
No, cabinets are not interactive in the same way. They're not immersive. A pantry is an immersive experience. You got all those scents. It's rich with spices and popcorn. As you said, popcorn is always a prevailing scent in a pantry. Graham crackers, perhaps. I love a good pantry. It's a good place to unwind. I'm going to put a pantry in B tier because
that's perfect.
It feels right. It's not A tier because kitchen supersedes the pantry. But goddamn, ain't a pantry. Ain't a pantry nice.
It is.
Let's keep cooking here. We got storage room. Storage room is, well, it's like what a garage, has the potential to be. Having a storage room like dedicated for storage does enhance the quality of all your other rooms. You know what I mean? That's where you consolidate your clutter.
Man,
so I think it's pretty important.
I am feeling like I would really appreciate one, but as I had that thought, I was like, isn't it kind of a failure? Isn't a storage room kind of just evidence of like you couldn't figure out how to really use all of your rooms in tandem?
Yeah, you would feel that way. That it's having a storage room indicates that you're not 100% optimized in your possessions. You don't like, you don't like collecting knickknacks and junk and fucking boxes of dumb shit.
Like, here's the thing: if you are like a collector, like your storage room would be stylized into something. At least, even if it's not something you work with, it's like. You walk in here and it has some semiotic purpose. I feel like we're a little divided on this. That's good.
I'm obviously pro storage room. I don't know if you're anti storage room. It sounds like you might be ethically opposed to storage rooms because you've drawn this line.
I think that, it's interesting. I'm like kind of discovering it as I say it. I do think I'm probably just over the line into anti, but with like a soft asterisk of like, look, if you have one, I get it. But I would first try to make all of my rooms purposeful. If something about my house is imbalanced in the way that one room gets all of my, extra shit, it's like, well, maybe rethink all the rooms to be a harmonious experience.
Well, okay, but do you know like when you picture a storage room, like what are you picturing? Because a storage room is typically unfinished. It's like a room in the basement that is uncarpeted, and like the insulation is exposed. It's like just this remaining, chunk of square footage that serves no other purpose. It's like. That's a storage room, In my house, neither of our houses have that because they're so efficient.
Yeah.
I guess you would rather. I guess this adds to your point though. You would rather that room be finished, and that's the jerk off room. Would you rather have that room for masturbating?
Exactly. Like, well, as you're talking, I'm like, our attics technically are storage rooms. They have like A-frame thingies in them.
I agree.
So it's like, so the question is, well, I do have a storage room. How do I feel about it? And you're right. It would be sick if that was a finished room.
Yeah, I don't disagree. If my attic was finished and you could stand up in it, I probably would make it something else. I would make it more than just a place to store shit. Wow, yeah, really turned around on this. Damn, maybe a storage room is fucking D tier. C tier, maybe? I don't know.
I think C is dead middle.
Is it F tier?
Wow, you're feeling F.
All right, I'm putting C because it's like an extra room. It's like leftover. Do you know what I mean? Now that I've thought about it, and this is kind of how I used to think about it as a kid too, and it's all coming back to me. It's like, why didn't they just finish the house? Like why'd they stop here? Like that's why it's a storage room, because you can't do anything else with it.
Exactly what I'm saying. I'm
putting it in an F tier. You know what? I think we're united on this all of a sudden.
Love it. I fucking love it.
Wow, incredible. This is good insight. This is profound shit.
Now we're getting to the meat of it, yeah.
We got study here, and this is a picture of like a very, like stereotypical, like pipe smoking, like study, like very, upper class, And that shit has always confused me. What the fuck? What is a study? It's not an office. It's a study. It's where you go to not like, it's like a non-committal workspace. Is that what it is, or is it an office? Because office isn't in here. It's not on this list. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I'm
yeah. A study is a weird room. It's like a game room office like fusion. It's like there are kind of like knickknacks and widgets in there, and maybe a chessboard, and cigars and maps and atlases and bullshit.
There's a fireplace.
It's a game room office. It's kind of weird as fuck.
I'm thinking of like studies in popular culture. It's like I'm thinking of like fucking Sherlock Holmes sitting by the fireplace in his study, smoking a pipe, thinking hard, drinking a glass of whiskey. It's like a half lounge, half intellectual workspace, which is cool when you think about it. Like, I'd rather have a study than a storage room. If that storage room could be a study, like, oh my God, fucking make it a study.
Exactly. Right. If you have a room that's going unutilized to the point where it's a storage room, probably there's some level of utility you could add to it that's not a kitchen's level of essential. But a study, if you could get a room to a study, it's like respectable.
Now, here's the question of the hour.
Okay.
Would you rather have a study than a guest room?
Fuck me. That's hard.
That is tough. Or are they equally obsolete?
Well, the parents would be like, not that they have a say, but they would be like, if you got a third bedroom added and you turned it into a study, I would be confused and a little mad.
Would they? I don't know. My dad has a study. Every house he's ever had, he's got a study in it. He gets it. He's an entrepreneur.
But instead of a guest room.
No, there's always a guest room as well. He got both. That's the thing.
Right.
But he's not. Right. The concept of a study is not foreign to him. It's like, it feels very adult to have a study. It's so distinguished.
Totally.
Can you imagine like bringing someone to your house and like leading them to your study? You want to drink some whiskey?
It's really something. It's boutique.
It's boutique. A guest room is plebeian. It's not sexy. Or is it sexy? I don't know. I don't know. Fuck. We've really spun our wheels on this. I think I'm gonna plop it in.
I think it's
C.
it's B.
B tier. B feels generous.
Now that I'm looking at pantry, it's kind of like a pantry. It's like such a bonus.
Well, I see what you mean there. It is. You can smell a study like right away. It smells of mahogany.
Yeah.
Mahogany and tobacco. But like in a good kind, like the good kind of tobacco, like a tobacco candle.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, I'm content. I'm leaving it at B. Let's move on. This next one's very interesting to me because I used to have a theater room, or my family used to have a theater room, and my friend Adam's house, or his dad's house, has a theater room as well that I think goes largely unused. It's like you can't implement a theater room that often. It is a room that it in fact serves one singular purpose. And for those of you out there, middle class, lower class, lower middle class, maybe you don't even know what a theater room is. You know what I'm talking about. It's what it sounds like. Right. It's a home theater. It's a room in your house with a big projector and a couple rows of like movie theater seats, and you probably got a fucking popcorn machine, and you put movie posters up. It's just to simulate the movie theater experience, and it's a very suburban thing to have, and I like it. I've got fond memories of the theater room in the house that I grew up in, but God, it seems so extra, and there's maintenance involved. You got so much technology you got to keep going. Like owning a projector is kind of a pain in the ass. It's probably going unused. I would rather just have a bomb ass living room than a theater room. Theater room is usually far from the kitchen too, which is a problem because I get hungry.
Yeah. A theater room is so extra for me. It's so not something I'm craving in a house. But that doesn't mean it's not good or cool or appreciated if I were to have one. Like,
yeah,
I just feel like for me it's C because it's like I would rather it be below the average a little bit for me.
C tier, definitely. at least C tier. I'm gonna put C tier. Because it is a flex, which having any room that is like a huge flex is appealing to me as a vain man, a materialist. But it's not above having a balcony or a game room or a pantry or a study. I think a study you're gonna get more use out of than a theater room. All right, we're settled.
So the rest of these are just duplicates.
Oh, all these are duplicates. Yeah. Oh shit.
Oh no, there's
okay, well, we've done it then.
I think there's a garden.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Okay. This is our last room then. Garden. A garden is
a room.
I guess it's a room. I mean, we did front and backyard. Have you ever had a house with a garden?
Yes. My childhood home had a garden, and it was very small, but it, now that I think back, was like a marker of my childhood experience. Like, it stands out.
Wow. Okay. So you're fond of gardens. I take it.
I am.
Here's my take. A garden for me is basically my worst nightmare. It's a front yard, backyard on steroids. For it to look nice and not get overrun with weeds and bugs and shit, it takes a tremendous amount of maintenance that I am not willing to commit. That said, if I had, groundskeepers, if I'm owning a home at that level, I'd love a garden. A garden would be delightful. I would sit in the garden every day. But is that the fantasy that we're talking about? I mean, do I have a staff working for me, taking care of my garden?
Right. There's a lot of qualifiers.
I mean, your parents took care of their own garden, I assume. You didn't have gardeners, did you?
Right. Like, my dad took care of it, and there were moments during the spring where we would quote unquote help and just do very basic shit. Basically we were just watching him, but like vaguely participating, but just wholesome opportunities spring from a garden. If you're a child or a family, gardening
as an activity has its merits. I'm not into gardening at this time in my life, but I get it. But just if I'm being honest, for me, a garden is probably F tier, just because I really don't want to deal with it. If I buy a house with a garden, it's just going to turn into a nightmare pile of dog shit. Yeah, the twist here for me is that I'm totally fine for you to put it in F. Like me on my own in the world, I'm never gonna optimize for a garden. I'm never gonna try to get a garden to happen. If I had one, I would not care to take care of it. Right. But I see, I kind of wish I was that person, because it seems like just really good for your mental and emotional health. And again, it's causes nice times for people. For sure. I'm sure it is. Maybe I'll get into gardening at some point in my life, but I'm not planning on making children or having children over to garden with me anytime soon. So that doesn't really appeal to me. But I see the merits. And, we redo this in 10 years, maybe garden is S tier for me. Maybe for both of us. I think F is fun. For now, it's F tier. Fuck gardens. I don't want a garden. Don't want a storage room, because finish the house. I love that. Don't want a dining room. What a waste of space. Put a fucking standing desk in there. All right. I'll make that my VR room. Yes. That's what I want to do. Or fill it with beans or something funny. Make a TikTok. Look, anything but a dining table. Useless. Right. Okay, well, I guess we've done it. I just reviewed the F tier catalog. S tier, we only put 3 items in S tier: basement, bathroom, and living room. And you know what? I don't feel like challenging that. I feel like that's legit. My only thing that I'm having reservations about is maybe the basement, just because not all basements are walkout, and the basements tend to be dark, and I'm a slut for natural light. Yeah, you are. The only change I might make here is swapping basement and kitchen, making kitchen S tier, basement A tier. I was gonna say, you kind of like the S tier is almost like, if a house had just these things, would you buy it? And that is true. A kitchen, a living room, and a bathroom, I would buy that. Yeah,
houses are basically
Right.
sold in that capacity sometimes.
And it absolutely pretty much every house I was looking at comprised of like only these things, and plus a bedroom or two.
Right.
I can't afford a house with a garage or a basement, but those are the two next best things that I could have. If I could add one amenity to a house, it would either be a garage or basement. I mean, it would definitely be a basement before a garage, but I'd pick a garage over anything under this, maybe bedroom should probably not be in D tier, but I think it's funny that we put it there, so I'm gonna leave it.
I love how our B tier is all just fun extra kinds of things.
But just fuck the bedroom. As a poor sleeper, I find the bedroom triggering, so it's got to be D tier. I'm pleased with this. We've got some time left. We do have another tier list that we could perhaps bang through in 10 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, we could emphasize speed.
I think that could be fun. It'd be fun exercise. I don't know what time we're actually at, because when I edit this, I'm going to cut out so much of this dead air that we could easily have an additional 10 minutes. Yeah, let's just jump into it. Let's try and crush this. I feel like we can be decisive about this.
Oh, same.
We are doing a mental disorders tier list. We're making a tier list of mental disorders. It's exactly what it sounds like. You got all the classics in here. We're gonna rank them from poggers to I forgot. But I forgot. I didn't make this. This is a template. I don't know if that's just a silly thing they're putting there. I think we know what all these are. So we're just ranking them. I don't know what our criteria is either. That's kind of nebulous.
We'll discover it.
I don't think. You don't want any of these, but I have immediate thoughts. First up, we have anxiety, and I think anxiety is poggers. I think that's a poggers mental disorder. It's a flagship disorder, as is depression. I think anxiety and depression are the two hallmarks of being mentally ill. Would you agree?
I think that anxiety is almost like the currency of all mental illnesses.
I agree. It's just a component.
It's a component.
It's just the main symptom. And depression goes hand in hand. I mean, they're inseparable. I mean, they are separable, but I mean, it's like fucking Kenan and Kel. You know what I'm saying? It's the dynamic duo.
It is, baby.
They go so well together. It's like Drake and Josh. It's like Abbott and Costello.
Cookies and milk, yeah, big time.
Cookies and milk. It's like butts and peonies, cheese and crackers. Anyway,
and ass. Oh,
yeah. It's like tits and ass. Let's keep going. That was weird. Next up, we have Alzheimer's. Yeah. Big one, chunky one, terrifying. One of the scariest.
The criteria is so hard to nail down because I want to put that in E because I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna put it in E. I'm gonna put the worst ones in E. The worst ones to have. Maybe we just base it off of that. Like the worst disorders to have versus the best. Best to worst. I'm not going to elaborate.
I would love anxiety of all these. Yeah, totally.
I mean, of this list, like anxiety and depression, you can cope with that shit. Those are, I'm not going to say easy to treat, but easier to treat than Alzheimer's.
Yes.
You can't treat Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that should help us rip through the rest of these. OCD. OCD is awful. It's awful to have.
Yeah, it is. I think it's C.
C tier. That's probably fair because it's also treatable to a significant degree.
Yeah,
and it's pretty common too. It's a spectrum in a way.
Right.
You can have severe OCD or mild OCD.
Absolutely.
But severe OCD, if you've ever seen it, is just like horrifying. It's like life ruining.
It's pretty scary to it's like mind bending to kind of interact with.
It sure is. Let's look at bulimia. We got bulimia here. Pretty bad. We're not girls, so we can't really relate. And I'm not saying that to be funny or sexist. It's just such a problem. It's so common. I think it's more common than most guys realize.
Yeah.
Eating disorders in general.
I think it's a little OCD-esque.
You know what? I agree. I think it's on the same level where it can be life ruining or you can recover from it. And just like you can adapt and recover from OCD to a certain degree. OCD is treatable. You don't take a pill to treat your bulimia. That's purely a psychosomatic thing, I think. But nonetheless.
I would put anorexia right next to it as well. Same similar kind of situations going on.
Oh
there.
yeah, we got anorexia here. Anorexia and bulimia are like anxiety and depression, except not really.
So true,
That's not a
dude.
good. That's not a.
They definitely hand it off to each other in some
Yeah,
fashion.
it's a passing of the baton. Let's talk about autism. We got to talk about it. I love this. I love this little thumbnail they've got. It's it's very colorful. Looks like little children's blocks. It's like autism. It looks like looks like a Nick Jr.
Yeah,
show.
I know.
Autism rules. I think we've talked about autism enough to firmly have established that autism is poggers.
Yeah.
But not really though. Can I undo that? Have you ever met someone who is, I mean, like, we forget that severe autism, where you're like nonverbal and like violent and like incapable of functioning as a member of society.
Yeah.
Not only is that a horrible life to live, but like a massive burden for your family. Autism is such an umbrella. It's so vast.
I think that autism spectrum is so wide that I think the tough kind of outliers of it that are really intense are outweighed by the amount of people who can have it and adequately navigate the world, a lot of which end up being very inspiring people. Owl City, for one.
Yeah, famously autistic, musical virtuoso.
I feel like C or B.
I was thinking C, just because the bad side of autism is so bad.
Sure.
But the good side is I know so many autistic people who I love dearly.
I know and so many.
Again, autism being a spectrum and all, us being the accomplished fellows, very, colorful, creative individuals that we are, we've got a touch of autism, not to try and take a piece of the pie.
Right. The more I learn about it, the more I'm like, I've definitely got a little something somewhere, if I had to guess. Touch of autism.
I think
autistic tendencies.
This is another episode that I've got planned, but if it's a competition, I think you're more autistic than I am. I think. I'm not a doctor.
I love that. You got it planned.
Yeah. I wanted to do this a few weeks ago. We'll circle back to it. That's a future episode. Borderline personality disorder. Next up. Borderline is awful. Borderline is a curse. It's a curse to experience. It's just really hard to treat and be around. I feel like people who are borderline tend to lead tragic lives.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I would put it in D tier. Honestly.
Yeah, I think that's really starting to define the D tier in a way that's clear to me.
Yeah, D tier. I mean, Alzheimer's is terminal, so like that's as bad as it gets. So it's got to be E tier. Borderline though is like, it's not as vast of a diagnosis as autism. Borderline is pretty specific.
Yeah. Yep.
It's got specific criteria. Let's talk about schizophrenia.
I think that's right next to borderline.
I think schizophrenia is so much worse than borderline. I'd put it in E tier. It's not terminal.
I will
but
definitely follow you to that.
You can be borderline, but be otherwise mentally fine. But schizophrenia is, I just feel like schizophrenia in my mind is one of the worst mental disorders to have, like one of the heaviest. It can be so scary.
Yeah.
You're seeing things that aren't there. People who are borderline don't hallucinate.
Right.
It's like schizophrenia is like, I don't know. I mean, as a not schizophrenic person, hard to describe, but being like well read on schizophrenia, it's like being trapped in a bad psychedelic trip forever.
That's really tough.
Or for a very long time, and like getting on top of it is really hard. You got to do some mental gymnastics. Anyway, E tier.
All right.
Let's talk about PTSD. This is hard for me to pin.
Yeah. I don't really know full well about what it looks like at its worst, and I think it's maybe more manageable than. Yeah, I feel like C or maybe D.
Yeah, probably C, because you can accessorize with PTSD in a way that you can't accessorize with borderline.
Totally.
PTSD can be kind of vibey to have. it's almost a flex that a lot of people make.
Right.
So I'm gonna put it in C.
It gets tossed around.
It's a good one for the mental disorder keychain, but borderline, that's not something you want to put on your Tinder bio.
Right. Dissociative identity. I mean, that is, I don't know enough about it, but it's kind of more intense on like the E level than the D level is my knee jerk.
I think so. Will you look it up real quick and read the description just so I think I understand what it is, but I also think it might be closer to schizophrenia than I realize.
All right. clevelandclinic.org. Dissociative identity disorder, DID, is a mental health condition. Someone with DID has multiple distinct personalities. The various identities control a person's behavior at different times. The condition can cause memory loss, delusions, or depression. And it's usually caused by past trauma.
That seems like an E tier thing. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very disruptive.
Super disruptive. Key word there. Nice one, dude. I'm putting that in E tier. That's the worst. Okay, moving on. We got sad. Sad is
being
poggers.
Sad.
Being sad.
It's got to be poggers.
I think sadness is a beautiful emotion.
I agree. It's like the color green or something.
Yeah. If you've seen, anyone who's seen Inside Out understands why sadness is necessary and poggers. You can't be happy without sadness. Yeah. You ever think about that?
You need this salience of life.
That's true. All right.
Bipolar has to be a D.
D, right? Yeah. That's just such a clear D thing. Okay. Yeah. No, it's not even, we don't even need to get into that. Just obviously D. It's like awful, but treatable. It's like schizophrenia light. That's not, don't quote me on that. That's such a stupid
Oh my God. That is pretty insensitive.
Funny. Yeah. All right. I'll leave that in, but I'm going to also leave in me apologizing immediately.
Perfect. I think that's the funniest, most high impact way out of here.
Next up, antisocial personality disorder. Well, will you look that up too? I wonder what it means to be diagnosed as antisocial.
All right. Medlineplus.gov. This is good. Antisocial personality disorder is a mental condition in which a person has a long-term pattern of manipulating, exploiting, or violating the rights of others without any remorse. This behavior may cause problems in relationships or at work and is often criminal.
Right. Okay. That rings a bell. Yeah, I think being a sociopathy falls under that category.
Right.
That is, I think, on par with borderline. I'm going to put it in D tier.
Yep, D.
Right?
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's bad.
I want to talk about the furry one.
Proud to be a furry is, as a mental disorder, I mean...
Wow, yeah.
It's been firmly established, like, you've got furries in your network, and I see... Yeah. You got there's pride in there. You're going to furry conventions and stuff. You're proud to be furry. I don't have a problem with furries. I really don't. I think it's funny to shit on furries, like it used to be funnier. Being able to take pleasure in a little community around some weird shit, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's no harm in it. You're not fucking animals. You're just fucking each other dressed as animals. Probably not even fucking most of the time. That's the thing about the furry community that a lot of people don't realize. Is that it's not about fucking. It's mostly just like a weeb culture.
I think that it's A tier because I think it could have been poggers, but I think, for example, being clinically depressed, people have grace for more on average than compared to if you're furry. Like, you're kind of gonna face some resistance from the world, and it could be very well worth it to you, but it's like compared to other stuff, it's limiting because of the stigma, and that's unfortunate about it.
Being a furry is insanely controversial to this day. Yeah. It's more controversial and life disrupting, I think, to be out as a furry than it is to be out as gay in these times.
Sure.
That has to take it down a peg just because of the world we live in. Sometimes. It really depends on your background.
But it's great in general.
Yeah, no. I think it's just, it's wonderful to care about something. And I wish I cared about things more. So I kind of envy that. If you're proud to be a furry, there's pure pleasure in there. There's no suffering. Any suffering involved is inflicted externally.
Right.
All right, moving on. Addiction. Addiction, that's a tough one. Takes a lot of forms, but it's all bad. I think addiction fits pretty neatly in C tier for me.
Yep, same. A lot of people live the lives they want to live while coping with it. In fact, maybe it helped them get there faster.
I know many reformed addicts of one substance or another. It's a thing that you can recover from, or it's a thing that can finish you. But that's true of everything that we put in C tier. But it is a condition that you can recover from, and is like it's an inspiring story.
You can wrangle that shit.
It's commonly wrangled. I'll put it that way. It's very wrangleable, more wrangleable than borderline personality disorder. I would posit.
Have to
in general. All right, we've got an interesting line on him next. Pedophilia. Do we put pedophilia in E tier just because it's so deplorable?
It's got to be E, because I get that in this case, it's phrasing it as like, well, if you are cursed with these feelings that you don't have, you can't ever act on, it's a disorder of sorts. And there's people who would be considered pedophilic, yet have never explored it. And in a way, they are fully wrangling it. But I think the stakes are too high. However wrangleable it is there's no really the cost is insurmountable of not having it wrangled.
In our society, whether or not you've acted on it, being a pedophile is such a deplorable thing. Like, it instantly life-ruining to be outed as a pedophile.
Yes.
You can never come back from that. It's not a death sentence to be a pedophile, obviously, unless you go to prison for it, in which case, yeah, it probably is. But it's just so severe. It's so awful. Like, you don't want to be cursed with the urges of being a pedophile, because even if you don't act on it, it's like, what a terrible thing. It's kind of progressive to put on this list, because I think a lot of people wouldn't consider pedophilia a mental disorder at all. It's like a lot of people make it simply an issue of morals. I think it is a mental disorder. I agree. You don't choose to fuck kids because like knowing the consequences. I feel like if you're willing to roll the dice on that, there is something wrong with you, like fundamentally. So, all right, that's easy. E tier. We got dementia here. I mean, Alzheimer's is just a form of dementia. So
exactly.
But not all dementia is terminal, I guess. You could just be senile, or Parkinson's is a form of dementia.
It's pretty rough.
I'm afraid of dementia so much. It's such a terrible way to go. Without getting into the semantics of it, it's like, yeah, that's E tier. That's just, you're losing your mind. It sucks dick.
I agree.
Let's look at the next line on him. Schizoaffective disorder. Now, schizoaffective disorder is schizophrenia light. It's having schizophrenic tendencies, but not being diagnosed as full-blown schizophrenic. It is not something that you want to be. It's not like autism. Maybe C tier.
So is it D or C?
It's D or C. I mean, having any symptoms of schizophrenia, even a dollop of it, is not bueno.
I agree.
I think I'm gonna plop it in C tier.
Cool.
We got phobias next up.
Poggers.
Phobias. You think phobias are poggers?
They're so benign.
Well, not all phobias are benign. I would think 8. I would take it down a notch. They're usually benign. Like being afraid of spiders, that's a phobia. But I think agoraphobia that's a phobia.
Yeah.
And agoraphobia is a pretty severe mental illness. I mean, you can't leave your house.
Yeah, sure. I think that it's so, everyone faces a number of phobias all the time, and it's a part of living. And yes, some are worse than others. Some people's lives are tougher than others. But
I guess that's true of everything in the top row here.
It's so pervasive in a neurotypical life. Yeah.
Yeah, phobias are usually overwhelmingly neurotypical. So I'm gonna put that in poggers. It's fun. It's like a fun that's something you want to talk about on a first date. That's a good topic.
Yeah, what are you scared of?
Okay, next up we got binge eating disorder. Another eating disorder. Probably on par with bulimia, anorexia. I think all eating disorders are C tier. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very niche, They're different. expressions of a similar thing.
Yeah, the different expressions of what I would say are the same mental illness, which is probably body dysmorphia, usually,
Right. Some kind.
or
Yeah.
commonly. I won't even say usually, just commonly. I mean, I know people develop eating disorders for a number of reasons, but
Yeah.
body dysmorphia is probably the main one. We got 2 left. Next is panic disorder. Now,
Ugh,
I don't.
sucks.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Have you ever had a full-blown panic attack?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like I've brushed against it a couple times, but never fully gotten there.
I think most people who have would probably say, if you're uncertain, that then you haven't,
Right.
because it's such a
Right.
physical experience. And panic disorder, being diagnosed with panic disorder means you're having panic attacks regularly, which
Yeah, it
is
sucks.
life ruining. Like, that is life ruining. Outside of having the panic attacks, it's a full-time life ruining thing. So, I
You
might
think E or D?
D. I wouldn't put it in E, because you
Okay.
can recover from panic disorder. It's such a treatable thing, even if it doesn't feel like it. But I don't know. It's such a personal thing for me. I wouldn't say I have panic disorder, but I feel like I have an intimate understanding of it as a person who panics from time to time. Hearing from people who have had it much worse than me, I might honestly put it in D tier. I'm going to put it in C tier, just because I still think it is so much more treatable and curable even than thhan the items we put in D tier.
Yeah.
And just like everything here, it can be life ruining, but it can be, you can get on top of that shit.
Yeah.
I think it's an inspiring thing to conquer.
Social anxiety has to be. I was tempted to put it in B because autism, often that's kind of, there's some related challenges there. But man, as I thought about it, I was like, should it be A or even poggers? Because it's pretty navigable. It would kind of suck to live life mostly not being able to feel at ease around people. That there's so much life to be lived in that way, and having trouble with it sounds like a very unfortunate life.
I totally agree. But also, I would say, although I don't know, I'm not reading the clinical definition of social anxiety disorder, I think it is a curable thing for sure. I think it can be cured.
It's definitely
via exposure.
It's definitely navigable.
Or, it's navigable for sure. More navigable than severe autism. I think A tier for me.
All right. I like it.
Social anxiety being an acute form of anxiety, maybe worse than just the headliner that is general anxiety. I feel like social anxiety, you could make an argument to swap these, but this is our tier list. We make the rules.
I feel good about it all. I feel very defined about all of this.
Me too. This feels pretty conclusive. In E tier, these are the worst of the worst. These are the deal breakers of mental illnesses. You got Alzheimer's, you got schizophrenia, you got dissociative identity disorder, or DID. You got pedophilia, you got dementia. These things, these are not navigable. You cannot navigate this shit. Maybe DID. I don't know. But I feel like having it is so severe that it belongs here. In D tier, we got rough if you got these. You're having a bad time, but it's not a death sentence. You got borderline personality disorder. Sorry to hear it. Sorry to hear that you got that. Antisocial personality disorder. Okay, well, all right, Jeffrey Dahmer. You know what I'm saying? You got bipolar disorder.
Right.
Ooh, that sucks. Take some pills about it. Sorry about everything I just said. This is a hot one. Good thing we're doing this at the end of the episode, and I won't clip it.
Oh, perfect.
C tier, we got all the classics: OCD, bulimia, anorexia, all the eating disorders, addiction, schizoaffective disorder, panic disorder. These are navigable, but really can be quite difficult to topple.
Yeah, they're risky. It's a bit of a tightrope walk in the C tier. Like, you fall one direction, you fall hard. You fall the other direction, you turn your life around.
Couldn't have said it better. B tier, autism in a class of its own. In B tier, such a gift and or a curse.
Right.
Plopping it slightly above C tier just because I feel like most people with autism who identify as being on the spectrum don't have it as bad as
Right.
or as life disruptingly as these other disorders. So B tier
Totally.
for that. In A tier, we've got the obvious A tier line items. Proud to be a furry. That's an A tier mental disorder. And social anxiety disorder. Probably, interesting to see these next to each other because I want to say they go hand in hand, but how socially anxious can you be if you are a furry? Maybe extremely, because being a furry is such a niche community.
A and B are really this niche, like social kind of outlier type vibes, and they all kind of contain the other thing a little bit.
Yeah, truly, not uncommon. One might posit to have all three of these going on.
Yeah,
I'm a socially anxious furry with a touch of autism, and in the poggers category, these are the headliners. The poggers mental disorders. These are the ones that you're talking about on Instagram. You got anxiety, you got depression, you got the big sad, you got your phobias. They're all mental illnesses, but gosh, we love you for having them.
everyone feels the poggers ones in some dosage, or you're not human. You could be human and never be a furry.
I agree. That's a great ass point, bitch. Very nice. All right, we've done it. We have to end the episode, but wow, what a productive time.
Sure have.
We've really sorted out a lot of life's biggest mysteries.
Yeah, that was sick. That was very fun. I learned a lot about myself and you and light and just the world at large.
What more could I hope for from this endeavor, from the slime zone? The slime zone is about learning. It's about togetherness. It's about growing as individuals. It's also about being steeped in a warm, throbbing pus, a viscous goo. It's about bathing yourself in the warm. It's always warm. It's always slightly above room temperature, and it's gooey. It's sticky. It's like flubber material. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, with that, I'm gonna close us out here. Anything you want to say to the fans?
Okay. Yeah, just every once in a while, go for the orange juice. You won't. It's not something you will get weekly, but you're keeping it more out of your life than you ought to. Go get some orange juice.
Yeah, don't be afraid to get the pulp too. You might have sworn off pulp as a kid. You might have thought, ew, gross, I don't like pulp. But when's the last time you had orange juice with pulp in it? Maybe as an adult, assuming you are one, you like pulp now. Maybe you're just an older kid. Maybe when you were 10, you hated pulp, but now you're 12, and pulp could be your style.
Right.
I'm just saying, be open-minded about it. Go for the orange juice. Consider getting the pulp. Maybe get the mango-flavored orange juice. Just live your life.
Ooh.
Don't let anyone tell you orange juice is bad for you. I mean, it is, but drink the shit out of it. You've earned it.
Have fun with it.
Have fun with it. And we'll see you next time on the Slime Zone. I hope you have a nice ass time. Toodles.
Good night.